Welcome back. The 68th Annual International Astronautical Congress is underway in Adelaide, and we're here to cover it all. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Day 4 of IAC TV. I'm Lisa McCaskill, ready to bring you everything you need to know from this year's World Congress. Today we hear from newsmakers, highlight key sessions and take a tour around the world to see all the work being done to push the boundaries of space exploration. First though, we speak to Pascal Ehrenfreund, Chair of the German Aerospace Centre Executive Board. I'm with Pascal Ehrenfreund, Executive Director of the DLR. What's the main focus of the DLR at the moment?
Well, the German Aerospace Center is one of the largest research centers in space and aeronautics in Europe, but we also do really great research in energy, transportation, security, and also in the cross-cutting area of digitalization. And at the same time, we are also the German Space Agency.
That's a huge amount of things. What do you see as the real crucial importance of collaboration between space agencies?
Well, you know, this is a perfect opportunity here at the IAC that we all meet. We are a large research organization and space agency, and we exhibit here in the exhibition hall our new technologies and our new space missions, and we sit in advisory boards here, we sit in panels, and we just distribute knowledge and exchange and interact with our partners. And this is a very large portfolio which is covered here at this conference, and this is important for every space agency.
And what is it that you hope delegates take away from this Congress?
The IAC has really a very rich portfolio, and you have people from industry, a lot of engineers, scientists, even space lawyers, also people, you know, from the political front, and you can really exchange ideas about the future. I think what is really important is also this cultural aspect, because we are going every time with the IAC around the world, and we see new places, and now we are here in Australia. Yesterday at lunch I was holding two little wombats like the twins, you know. And this is just wonderful to learn about the culture and also about the diversity.
And where do you see the future of space exploration?
Well, I think with a new commercial, you know, applications and the fact that many space entrepreneurs enter the field, everything is very dynamic. It's speeding up, the ideas get bolder, and we have to work faster. And this is also something which space agency, you know, have to take into account. In many things we can only do together, and we need to exploit worldwide expertise. And this conference, you know, is really great in order to prepare for this really exciting future.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking with us.
Thank you.
Next we hear from Bill Nye, CEO of the Planetary Society, all about light sail.
Light sail is a spacecraft propelled through space by nothing but sunlight. We get it on orbit with a conventional rocket, and then sunlight, although it or any light, although it has no mass, it has momentum. It's pure energy. There are certain missions, as we say, certain uses of spacecraft where a solar sail is ideal. Now, I took one class from a famous astronomer in the United States named Carl Sagan, and he talked about a solar sail in the 1970s. And it took us at the Planetary Society, which he started, 39 years, and we finally flew one. We flew our first test flight. First of all, we strongly believe it will lower the cost of many missions. Many places you'd want to send instruments can be done much more cheaply with a solar sail. Here's the strange and surprising thing. The push from sunlight, the so-called solar pressure or sun pressure, is tiny. But when you get the spacecraft in space, the sunlight is always shining. And you've seen rockets take off. The engine burns for a few minutes, sometimes a few seconds, sometimes as much as a half hour, and then that's it. The fuel's gone and you're done, and you coast to your next destination or get a slingshot around a nearby object, a planet or what have you. But with a solar sail, the sun is always shining, so although the push is very small, it's continuous. We are living at an extraordinary time where more and more countries are what we call spacefaring, including Australia, because it enhances your society. As I say, space exploration is inherently optimistic. And in general, space brings out the best in all of us because we solve problems that have never been solved before. There are two questions that everyone has asked at some point in his or her life. Where did we come from? And are we alone in the universe? And if you want to answer those questions, you got to explore space.
Next we hear from Sergei Krikalev, the head of human spaceflight for Roscosmos. Can you tell us anything about the deal that was signed yesterday with NASA?
Well, we talked to them on technical issues and a possibility of future cooperation. So we signed paper about intent to continue talk, continue technical development, and continue study.
So is this Congress really good for doing business in a sense like that? Is it important that all the partners come together?
We have very many heads of agencies here, and of course they exchange their opinion over internet, over mail. Technical specialists work to each other, but sometimes final decision can be made here because very many decision-making people are here.
And what do you think, or what would you hope that people take away from a Congress like this?
Well, I think most important thing is that people are willing to meet together, willing to make joint plans and move forward together.
And what's your dream for the future of space?
Well, I think my dream would be to have a new settlement in a space in another celestial body.
Do you think you'll see it in your lifetime?
Yeah, I hope, because we already, many years ago, we have an experience to have people landed on the moon. Right now, people are asking why we are doing this again, but this is not what we did many years ago. We are going to go and settle temporary base, permanent base, start to make laboratory on moon surface, so this is a long and interesting journey ahead.
Now let's take a moment to look at all the work being done around the world to push the boundaries of space exploration.
Space science is so important for understanding our place in the universe, but also understanding how our Earth works. Without space technology, we would have no GPS in our cars and our phones, we wouldn't have satellite communications, and we wouldn't have the Earth observation data that allows us to make, for example, accurate weather forecasts every day. CSIRO is the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation, and we're Australia's largest research organisation. CSIRO owns and operates all of the radio astronomy facilities on behalf of Australia. These are collectively known as the Australia Telescope National Facility. The ATNF offers astronomers a unique view of the Southern Hemisphere sky, and it's available for use by Australian and international astronomers worldwide. CSIRO has a 50-year partnership with NASA, particularly with regard to the operation of the Canberra Deep Space Communication Complex.
NASA's Deep Space Network is a set of stations around the world at Goldstone, Canberra and Madrid. By coming together as a network, they are able to now look at the entire solar system and chart every robotic space mission around every planet in the solar system. Canberra Deep Space Communication Complex has 3 34-metre antennas and one 70-metre antenna. The 70-metre antenna is the largest antenna in the Southern Hemisphere. This place is extremely special to the people that work here. Their roles are so vital to make sure we carry the signals from deep space. We carry them safely, we carry them with consistency, and we don't drop a signal, and they do this perfectly. They make history every day. The work we do here is playing a key part in the exploration of the solar system. The images we're getting back from Pluto, the images we'll get back from the Cassini end of mission, the images that we get back from the Mars rovers tell us something about what composes this solar system, about where Earth and us sit in this big picture of the solar system.
Astronomy and space science give us two viewpoints for viewing and understanding our universe, looking up and out at the solar system and the universe, but also looking down at Earth from space. The data we receive from Earth observation satellites enables us to learn and manage things like weather and climate, environmental management, emergency response, and resources management.
We downlink the data from a number of satellites. Most of them are owned and operated by a number of other countries, but we have access to about 120 satellites, about 250 sensors on these satellites. We manage about 1 petabyte of satellite data together with our colleagues from Geoscience Australia. We've developed with them what we call the data cube technology, which allows us to pre-process a lot of this data and organize it and clean it up very well so that researchers but also government agencies can look at changes across the landscape for a single part of the country in terms of agricultural production or flooding or coastal change and things like that. GeoGLAM stands for a Global Earth Observation Agricultural Monitoring System. GeoGLAM was called for by G20 about 6 years ago to use a lot more satellite data to monitor crop production worldwide. In Australia, we said that we needed also to monitor livestock and beef production. And therefore, we've developed GeoGLAM RAP. RAP stands for Rangelands and Pasture Productivity. We're helping create the necessary decision-making information and the tools to monitor how we're managing remaining resource and lands that provide this protein and food.
CSIRO has a very broad range of capabilities that can potentially be applied to space activities. They include advanced communications technologies, sensor technologies and robotics.
A hexapod is literally something with 6 feet. What they do is they walk more gently over the Earth than wheeled or tracked robots do. They're also more agile, so they can step over things, they can duck under things and turn themselves in circles without skidding. Hexapods can go where no man has gone, where no man should go, and in the case of the smaller ones, where no man will fit. If you're on a planetary body or something similar, a hexapod can walk over rock piles and up much steeper gradients, and thus it can carry its sensor payloads to places that would otherwise be inaccessible. SLAM is simultaneous localization and mapping. It works similarly to how humans work out where they are and make a map in their mind of the room they're in, for example. Robots for exploration are only useful when they're carrying sensors, so cameras, laser scanners. With our 3D SLAM technology, they know exactly where they've been, so they can provide you with a map of where they walked. They don't rely on memory, they keep a log of everywhere they went. The hexapods are a massive step forward in taking instruments to observe the universe in which we live.
CSIRO aims to harness its innovative culture, its technical capabilities, its international relationships to support the Australian space sector and to develop a powerful innovation pipeline for the Australian space industry.
The time is now. At no other time in human history have we had the technology, the know-how, and the public excitement to get humans to Mars. We're building Orion today, right now, a spacecraft like no other designed for deep space exploration. But to get humans to Mars, we can't send Orion by itself. It needs to be part of a larger system that provides the supplies and the scientific equipment needed for a 3-year journey that will take us hundreds of millions of miles away. We call our concept Mars Basecamp.
Mars Basecamp is really straightforward. Let me break it down for you. It's an orbiting mission with 4 main sections and 2 of almost everything for backup. We have 4 large commercial solar arrays to generate electricity and power the spacecraft. For propulsion, we have 2 cryogenic propulsion stages and 2 tank farms to store the fuel, liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. Of course, the 6 astronauts will need room to live on their 1,000-day mission, so Mars Basecamp has 2 habitats and a living space to eat, sleep, and exercise. Most importantly, we have Orion. It's the command deck, with all the avionics for navigation and communications. Orion makes the whole spacecraft more reliable and gives the astronauts a safe ride home.
Because we've already started, we think we can launch this system in about a decade. Orion is already flight proven, and we are designing the Deep Space Gateway today. Soon, NASA and Lockheed Martin will launch an uncrewed Orion on the Space Launch System rocket for a mission called Exploration Mission 1, or EM1. To check out all the systems over 3 weeks in an orbit around them. After that, the next Orion flight, EM2, will be crewed. And on that launch, the SLS rocket will also carry the first elements of the Deep Space Gateway. The Deep Space Gateway is essentially a space dock where America and other spacefaring nations can perform revolutionary science and establish a lunar commercial economy. Through the 2020s, we will work with NASA to operate and assemble the Deep Space Gateway, and then build up Mars Basecamp and get it ready for flight. Finally, we will be ready to send humans to Mars aboard Mars Basecamp.
We've talked about how we can do it, now let's talk about why. Mars Basecamp is about more than humanity's greatest adventure. It's about science, answering fundamental questions that scientists have been asking for hundreds of years. Where did we come from? Where are we going? And are we alone? From orbit, astronaut scientists have access to the entire planet's surface for rovers and drones to make real-time decisions about where to go and what to examine. We can retrieve a sample from the surface for study, and we can send the astronaut crew to the 2 nearby moons of Mars for an up-close look. And from orbit, we can confirm the site selection for the first human landing. At Lockheed Martin, we've been exploring Mars with NASA from the beginning, so we know what it takes to get here, how to operate here, and how to lead the world in doing it. Yes, Mars Basecamp is a concept, a vision, if you will. But whether it's this system that gets humans to Mars or something similar, the world is at a point in time where it has the means, the ability to write a new chapter in history, sending humans to the red planet.
EUMETSAT in Darmstadt, Germany is an intergovernmental agency established in 1986 to develop and exploit meteorological satellite systems to deliver data for weather forecasting.
Today, we operate 10 satellites in orbit and we deliver data to 30 member states. The priority of EUMETSAT is to deliver the best observation for weather forecasting. It means we need to have the best satellites and also the best science to extract information from the observation of these satellites. It's important to understand the value of weather forecasting for society. Not only does it save lives, as everybody knows, but it's also vital for the economy. For instance, civil aviation does not exist without weather forecasting. Studies have shown that the socio-economic benefit of our satellites in the European Union is more than €5 billion per year. Since 2000, a second mission is to monitor climate change. So EUMETSAT is at a key point in its history. First, we are preparing the next generation of our satellite systems. And second, we are also exploiting new satellites on behalf of the European Union for the Copernicus program.
METEOSAT, second generation, is EUMETSAT's current geostationary program, and the third generation is already well underway.
The new fleet of satellites will provide for the legacy service for the imager mission a higher temporary and spatial resolution. So with this, the observability of the meteorological information will be better. For the new mission, which will fly on the imager satellite, we will have a lightning imager. With a sounder satellite, we will provide new information on the composition of the atmosphere. In order to develop the user requirements, there was a long user consultation process in the beginning to develop the user requirements document. There is an ongoing mission advisory group for the new missions, and for the legacy services, we are consulting the users via the science and operations working groups.
METOP is a series of 3 polar orbiting meteorological satellites and forms the space component of EUMETSAT's polar system, or EPS. METOP A was launched in 2006, followed by METOP B in 2012.
The third satellite, METOP C, is identical to the first 2 satellites, A and B, and will be launched next year in 2018 in the last quarter. This satellite, even 20 years after its design, is still a state-of-the-art in this domain. It does a lot of observations from a low Earth orbit and provides data to our users, which are essentially numerical weather prediction centers, but also climate monitoring centers. The EPS second generation, the new satellites that will be designed and the system around those satellites will continue the missions of the first generation with better accuracy. These programs generate data that have a lot of impact for the society. The programs EPS and EPS second generations are based on cooperations which are worldwide. We build our first system in cooperation with the US with exchange of instruments, data and services, and also in Europe, where we have cooperations with the European Space Agency, who is in charge of developing our satellites, but also with some national agencies such as CNES and DLR to do some development of instruments which are state-of-the-art instruments.
One satellite operator, be it national or European, cannot deliver all observations needed for weather forecasting. So we need to cooperate with the US, with China, with India, to coordinate our observing systems, to share data such that our member states in Europe have access to all data they need. And this we do in the framework of the World Meteorological Organization. EUMETSAT means 30 member states join their forces to get the best possible satellite and data. EUMETSAT is exploiting Copernicus satellites on behalf of the European Union. And these satellites are dedicated to the monitoring of the ocean and atmospheric composition. And we do that because there is a lot of synergy between the observation we deliver with our own satellites and these new observations. And it's very important for users to access all these observations together.
UMETSAT is a user-driven organization, developing data services and constantly adapting to the evolution of the requirements of its users.
UMETSAT produces over 100 products from our 10 currently flying satellites. We cover everything from classic meteorology, which is our core mandate, but we also address new areas such as the state of the oceans, the height, the quality of the water, the biological growth, as well as looking at air quality, which is of great importance to us around the world. UMETSAT develops its products using the classical scientific approach, which is exchanged with specialists following scientific developments that are published in literature. In addition, and this is really a core part of our business, is to actually listen to the varied user communities that give us feedback through our help desk and those elements. And last and not least, we also have a mechanism with our member states where we actually meet twice a year to discuss the state of our products and developments.
Modern weather satellites can be used for much more things than just to support the weather forecast. 20 years ago, UMETSAT took a wise decision. They decided to exploit the expertise and the skills that is already available in its member states, so across Europe, and to use these expertise to develop tailored products that support directly specific user communities. The satellite application facilities are in a very intense contact with the users because they have to understand both worlds, the application areas, what the users want, and also the satellite technology. So communication with the users is essential for them to work with them and for them and to provide them the information from satellite data they need for their applications.
The vision of the future of UMETSAT is very much driven by the evolution of forecasting. I don't say weather forecasting because today forecasting is much more than the weather. So the vision of UMETSAT in the future is to deliver seamless observation of the ocean, the atmosphere, the atmospheric composition for integrated forecast of weather, air quality, ocean.
UNSW Canberra Space is Australia's leading space capability. Our vision is to be Australia's space go-to and trusted partner to help tackle key national and international challenges and opportunities. UNSW Canberra has invested significantly to build a very large, world-class team of space scientists and engineers. If we put that team together with 5 funded and very innovative spacecraft and others under development, that puts us in the leading position in Australia.
Every member of the team comes to the group with a range of experiences and skills. A lot of our team come from the big space. They've worked on those billion-dollar programs, and working on those programs helps you to understand what works and what doesn't work in space. We've also got engineers and scientists that are working on cutting-edge technologies, and they fit into the new space paradigm. Bringing those two groups together creates a creative tension, which is a really exciting environment to work in. We're currently developing a 3U spacecraft for the Royal Australian Air Force, which will carry out a maritime surveillance role. This spacecraft is being developed and qualified in a highly compressed time frame. At the same time, we're using the program to deliver educational outcomes for the Australian Defence Force. Our concurrent design facility is being set up as a national asset to support the design of space missions at their early stages. It fits into the growing ecosystem of space capability in Canberra and sit alongside the space test facilities of University of New South Wales' close partner, the Australian National University.
The Australian Government is looking to support and grow a domestic space industry in Australia to meet national needs. And that's actually created an opportunity for us. It's led to the creation of the commercial spin-off Skycraft. Together, UNSW Canberra Space and Skycraft are ideally positioned to remain Australia's leading space capability.
Skycraft brings to market Australia's most significant space capability for the design, testing, construction, in-flight operations of cube satellites and small satellites up to 150 kilograms. What Skycraft provides is the longevity. It's taking the spark and it's creating a commercial capability. UNSW Canberra has created the vision and the investment to create a unique space capability in Australia. Skycraft is going to take that capability and boost it to stratospheric heights by creating a self-sustaining space capability in Australia on the back of the university's vision and investment.
We as a team have a very strong experience in engineering, research and management of the big space sector and aerospace sector. So most of us have at least one successful space mission or aerospace mission in our careers. Internally, we push towards innovation. I'm currently involved in a mission design that has a huge potential in developing Australia's potential in maritime and aerospace surveillance. I'm also designing an onboard data handling hardware that can serve a purpose as a future processing platform on satellite missions and also support various scientific experiments that are happening across Australian universities and research bodies. With this development, we're also working very closely with various Australian manufacturers to develop in-house capabilities for space-grade hardware manufacturing in Australia.
When it comes down to it, my research is really about trying to understand why objects in low Earth orbit aren't where they're supposed to be. And the key to that problem is aerodynamics. You see, aerodynamics is the largest non-conservative force on a low Earth object and also the least well understood. My research aims at trying to better understand the physics that underpins aerodynamics in low Earth orbit. To better understand the physics of aerodynamics in low Earth orbit, at UNSW Canberra, we combine state-of-the-art supercomputer simulations with world-leading ground-based experimental test facilities, such as what you see behind me, which is the Australian National University's Space Test Facility hosted at the Advanced Instrumentation and Technology Centre. We aim to develop a space situational awareness capability that is essential to meet the demands of the growing global space community. At the same time, this understanding will help provide new pathways and opportunities for UNSW Canberra Space and Australia to innovate in this growing sector.
We are confident of evolving into a one-stop solution for anything involving space research and space engineering in Australia. We hope to deliver cutting-edge research on the academic front, while also delivering high-value, rapid missions to our customers.
This is what I find so exciting about Skycraft. The breadth of applications is expansive. Space touches so many aspects of our daily lives. We're actively investigating new applications where we can create niche markets. For example, in defence, border protection, national security, water quality monitoring, forestry, precision agriculture. These are all applications that we can deliver on.
The most important part of the strategy to achieve our vision is to continue to invest in a world-class team, to focus on user needs, and to pursue niche areas of potentially disruptive comparative advantage for Australia.
Next, we join a plenary about how big space data can help drive sustainable development and economic growth on Earth.
So a lot of data that we're getting from satellites in terms of Earth observations is incredibly useful for achieving sustainable development. It's coming in more frequently at different scales. The issue right now is trying to bring some of these data communities together in a way that Earth observation data is applied also within the development circles.
The satellites provide kind of an ongoing mirror of what's happening on the world. And what's most important, it's an objective mirror. It's difficult to politicize the look from the space. If we are able to spread this information to enough people, then I think it can make a change, because people will understand what's happening. They can monitor through days, weeks, and they can see the change. And I think that this affects their decision of how they do the things further on.
Much of the work that we're trying to do is bring these communities together in a way that we can really apply Earth observation data to the specific needs that are happening at the country level in regards to where there's the most challenges within all of the sustainable development goals and the indicators that are required for that, but doing it in a way where it's not just useful for reporting and monitoring, which is important, but also for how the data then gets applied to creating a data ecosystem type of approach where you have governments, civil society, and private sector are working together, more so that data can actually be applied for action and decision making.
Make sure you follow us on Twitter at websedge_edu to keep up with all the World Congress news, and feel free to join in on the conversation. Next, we head back to the studio to hear from someone who is pushing the boundaries of space exploration in Australia, Flavia Tata Nardini. So I'm with Flavia Tata Nardini, Chief of Fleet Space. So tell me, what are you doing with Fleet Space?
So Fleet was co-founded in 2015, so just a couple of years ago. And we come from a very big passion for space, and we really want to do something world-changing. So we decided to found this company that is going really well. The idea of Fleet Space is to deploy 100 nano-satellites. So these nano-satellites are as big as a shoebox. And the idea is deploying them to create a digital nervous system, a kind of a net around Earth, to propel the next internet, that is the Internet of Things. So this idea that everything around us will be connected, you know, it requires a bit of a new infrastructure. It's not a 3G exercise. 3G is for your phone. So, you know, the idea of all these self-driving cars, all these sensors in industries, it needs a new platform, and we are building it, you know, launching all these satellites in space.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, very challenging as well.
And so where do you see the future for South Australia in the sort of space race?
So you know what, very interesting. We are based in Adelaide, and you know, I came to Adelaide 4 years ago for a love story, really. I come from European Space Agency, so you know, heavy space background, but I arrived here, and the company is founded and co-founded here, and we got our headquarters here with 15 people. What I really love is the change I've experienced in the past 4 years. It's been absolutely dramatic, and in a good sense. You know, there is this new center that has been announced for, you know, space industry in the state. The government is absolutely committed to innovation. When I arrived in Australia 4 years ago, there was one space startup in the entire country. Now there are 60 plus. And, you know, in the past 4 months, there's been more than, you know, I think more than 15 million of private investment in space. Fleet got 5 million investment. That is magical for South Australia. It's magical for Australia, you know. We are not in Silicon Valley, so it's very exciting. And all these companies are either in South Australia or relocating to South Australia or choosing South Australia as home. And, you know, Fleet will have to grow, and we are growing, and we are now capital raising for the next phase. But having R&D and product development here is fantastic. You know, we got a 400 square meters warehouse, amazing people, because the talent is incredible here. So I think that South Australia is in the space innovation stage now.
Well, as a South Australian, thanks for starting it off, you know, and attracting it, being the
You're
hive.
welcome. But yeah, it's been hard, because, you know, 4 years ago there was not this wave of innovation that I think had to happen in South Australia with all the changes in the manufacturing industry. So I think the government bet on space, and is paying off, because space is an amazing industry with future jobs and amazing technologies that can help other industry. I mean, think about Fleet, it's Internet of Things, so we help agriculture, mining, oil and gas to be better industries. So it's a good investment, I believe, yes.
And how important do you think a conference like this or a congress like this is to the space industry?
I mean, this congress and having this congress here, as you probably see, has just created this massive momentum. I mean, we have a space agency this week, you know, and this is all this build-up of industry that's being created and momentum that's being created. There are so many people here. I think most probably it's one of the records for this conference. People love Australia. They came here, and then now we are showcasing our capabilities. And the government also stepped in with a space agency. I'm lucky enough to be part of the reference group advising the government for this space capability review. And, you know, even if I knew that this was about to happen, on Monday morning when I heard the news, I was over the moon. You know, I was very happy.
Yeah, that's great. And thank you for all you're doing. That's
oh,
wonderful.
Yeah. You're
Thanks
welcome.
for speaking to us today. let's continue our tour of work being done around the world, pushing the boundaries of space exploration.
Being part of the MIT Space Systems Laboratory provides incredible opportunities. I don't think there's very many places that you can actually work to send your algorithms and control schemes to space to test. To be able to interact with the International Space Station, it's a remarkable opportunity.
Space systems encompasses any field of science or engineering that you can think of. We work with computers, with mechanics, with thermal engineering, propulsion. We specialize, but we can't ignore or leave out any of the subsystems.
You always have something new and challenging to work on, even if you've done something once, but the next time you do it, it's a little bit different. And the environment in space is not one that's really easy to work with. So there's always problems to solve, and I think that's what I love about it the most.
The Department of Aeronautics and Astronautics at MIT is in the School of Engineering, and here we really cover two bases. One is airplanes, aeronautics, as well as spacecraft. So what I like to think of is we're engineering, but we defy gravity. You can work with the International Space Station, you can build and fly your own UAVs, you work with astronauts. They really come out of their education now with a full experience of impacting the aerospace field. The MIT Space Laboratory is in the Department of Aeronautics and Astronautics, and we really focus on the space side.
We are the expert laboratory in systems engineering, putting all these complex systems together and teaching students what that means and how to make them work ultimately in space.
We give students here the opportunity to be hands-on with hardware. Through the REXUS project, where they're going to send their hardware to an asteroid through space for 2.5 years, to Spheres, where they're going to send their hardware up on station, these students are getting to work with the leaders in the aerospace industry on real hardware.
State-of-the-art technology with education is something we really need to marry. And we do that through our capstone class, where students get to design new technology that, surprisingly, actually we've been able to fly in orbit on station and to interplanetary missions.
We started this concept at the time truly innovative, the first ones to ever do it, CDIO, conceive, design, implement, operate. We began that in 1999. Since then, we've done the class about 10 times, and at least 4 of them have gone to space.
You get to experience what it's really like on a real high-profile NASA mission. You have to meet all those requirements that the other instruments have to meet. And so that whole experience is really invaluable in teaching you what real aerospace engineering is like.
My involvement with the projects that we have here at DSSL goes all the way from hardware level, actually crimping cables, screwing on satellite parts, all the way up to writing code for it.
From the start, I've been working with developing algorithms so that we can test our architecture in space. We interact with the astronauts live over video feed, and they unpackage our software, load it into the system, and run our tests. Being able to be a part of what is the whole picture going to look like, how are we going to develop the architecture, meet requirements. And I think these are really important skills that need to be developed and that I think I can take into my future career.
We, as a lab, have 3 main focus areas. On the one side, we work with computer models of how to develop space mission. Then we do a lot of ground test beds. We build things in the ground that we test in the laboratory. Proof of concept, can they work? The third step is things that go to space. For example, our Sphere satellites that are aboard the International Space Station. What Spheres is it is a test bed. MIT decided to use the space station not to test a complete mission, but to create a testing environment to do microgravity research in space. The Spheres program began at the MIT Space Systems Laboratory as a class in 1999. In 2006, it got up to the space station. In 2010, NASA and the DoD made the Spheres part of the ISS National Laboratory, making it truly a facility for everybody beyond MIT.
REXUS is an X-ray instrument that's on the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft. The OSIRIS-REx spacecraft is going to explore this asteroid Bennu. NASA has put a little bit of money aside and said, let's see if universities can come up with a good instrument idea, and we started developing the REXUS instrument back in 2012. Rexus is going to look at the asteroid in the X-ray regime and tell us what the asteroid is made out of. So does it have iron, sulfur, or magnesium in the regolith, which is the dirt that's on the outside of the asteroid.
I started in Rexus when Rexus was part of the undergrad capstone class, and really the experience that I got in that class was so exciting that I decided to continue on Rexus for both my master's and now my PhD work. On the Rexus project, students did everything. We designed Rexus, we designed the test program, we implemented the test program, we physically built the hardware, as well as contributing to the scientific analysis of our data. As an X-ray spectrometer, we'll be the first instrument to get a look at the X-ray spectra that comes off the asteroid, which gives us a unique insight into the elemental composition of the asteroid. And so we're getting data that no one's ever gotten before.
The SPHERES program is educated several thousand students from all the way as young as 11 years old. We made a competition that is based on the students programming a player for an autonomous satellite. The best players in simulation get to send their code up to the space station. Students can say, I can send things to space. I can send my software to space.
Space Systems Lab and Star Lab are in a nice sweet spot. We work on missions that are small enough where we can hold them all in our hands and in our heads, but they're impactful and they fly.
It's constantly humbling to be around faculty members that are really excellent at what they do, whether they're NASA chief technologists or former secretaries of the Air Force. Just being able to learn from these people day to day make AeroAstro at MIT what it is.
All my life, when I was a kid or throughout undergrad, I always thought of MIT as being like this super cool place in which cutting-edge research was done. Now that I'm here, I can actually feel that your research can have a tremendous impact on the world.
The space industry is basically in a revolution. You know, Space 2.0 it's been referred to. There's new launch vehicles, new companies. Things are moving from government to the private sector. Meanwhile, there is a revolution in small satellite technologies, nanosatellite technologies. And so it's sort of a new paradigm for both space exploration, Earth remote sensing, and space platforms. The Space Science Center at Morehead State University was an early adopter of nanosatellites, particularly CubeSats.
We have been able to meet and exceed all of the needs to build a CubeSat. In other words, we've become a one-stop shop here. We've built all the infrastructure necessary to go from concept to final delivery, including all the environmental testing, the shake and bake, if you will, all the necessities of a clean room, all the electronic systems that are required to do this, as well as having the infrastructure here to communicate with them. We're very fortunate to have a 21-meter dish antenna. So we've come from very humble beginnings to being an internationally recognized force in the CubeSat business.
Morehead State University is a small regional university, about 10,000 students in Appalachian, Kentucky. We have outstanding staff that we brought in from all over, from the East Coast and the West Coast, from the aerospace and defense industries. And we've all sort of met here in the middle of the country to produce a pretty exciting program and research and development facility.
We really have all of the assets here, all of the connections to really attract aerospace businesses to want to work with us, and the students really benefit from that. They benefit from what I would call a real-world hands-on university.
The degree programs in space science at Morehead State University are based on hands-on experiences for the students. That means that you have to understand how to design, build, fabricate spacecraft and spacecraft subsystems. So the hands-on experiences that students get are invaluable.
The students play such a vital role in our production of our projects here at the Space Science Center. We have to use all hands that are on deck. Everybody that's in the building will have a job no matter what. Even if you're just a first day freshman, we can put you somewhere for sure. And so that gives great opportunities for the underclassmen to develop their skills as they grow through our program.
They're really got their hands into something to make real things work. And I think every one of them, before they get out of this program, even with a a bachelor's degree, have had their hands on a satellite that went into space. Now that's pretty cool.
The Space Science Center has flown to date 7 space missions. They've ranged from 1U CubeSats that were technology demonstrations through larger spacecraft like microsatellites and 6U spacecraft that we're working on now, which is a lunar mission. In fact, that's probably the coolest thing that we've done, which is the Lunar Ice Cube mission. It's actually a NASA mission, but it's led by Morehead State University and its partners. We're all working together to build a small suitcase-sized spacecraft that's going to get a ride to Earth escape on the maiden voyage of the Space Launch System, NASA's big rocket that's under development.
I'm on the flight software team, so I primarily work with our flat set. That's working with the emulators and the SDUs to start to get everything talking to our CNDH.
We're going to orbit the moon for about a year and map the distribution of water ice to try to understand the transport physics to see where water ends up. We're going to study the universe from this incredible platform, and to do that you have to live and work on the lunar environment. So we'd really like to understand the water, where it is and how it's distributed on the moon.
The fact that as an undergrad student you get to participate and work with NASA is unbelievable. Our resumes after we graduate just with a bachelor's degree is incredible.
We've had a unique opportunity presented to us by NASA JPL, the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, California. They're the creators and managers of what is known as the Deep Space Network. We were invited to join as the first ever external organization to become part of the Deep Space Network.
This opens up a larger window into space where we can monitor satellites and other cosmic bodies that are not only past our Earth and past our moon, but interplanetary in itself.
They may be willing in the future to bring other stations on, and we'll serve as sort of the test case or hallmark by which the others can perhaps copy the things we've done, not repeat the mistakes we've made, and perhaps shortcut to the successes we hope to enjoy.
It's been great to have the Jet Propulsion Laboratory people come and talk to us. Our students get a lot of experience that way. They get to see really the inner workings and how it's done in real life.
It's important for Morehead State University to develop the pipeline of students entering in the undergraduate degree program. Our summer programs include Space Trek, which is an all-girls space camp. Some like to call it a boot camp. It's a very rigorous camp where we bring in 24 girls across the state of Kentucky, rising into their 10th grade years. And these girls come in having never seen a resistor before in some cases, and they build an entire scientific instrument, launch it from the roof of the Space Science Center, and pull down data in real time. What often happens is that girls find a true passion for electronics, telecommunications, and space science.
Turns out that aerospace is the #1 industry in the state of Kentucky. We're not producing scientists and engineers at the rate that the aerospace industry needs to even maintain the current workforce. So I think that's our most important mission at the Space Science Center, is to produce the next generation of scientists and engineers that can support the aerospace and defense workforces in the United States.
How do we create the next generation of space pioneers? How are we going to build that starship? How are we going to colonize Mars? How do we do that? How do we infuse in our future generations the intellect and the experience to be able to do that? USC has believed for some time now that in order to answer these questions, we really have to think differently and create an educational environment different so that we can innovate and educate, and they, in essence, have pioneered the methodology by which a department is now specialized in astronautics.
This is one of the very few universities in the country, in fact in the world, with this particular distinction. Since 2004, the program has awarded more than 500 master's degrees. But more importantly, astronautics is an area where, and space is an area which is very interdisciplinary. So in addition to people that study, let's say, propulsion as well as control in space, you also have people that are interested in the area of electronics, aviation, computer science, GPS, many other things that are very useful in both the launching and as well as the ultimately deployment in space.
The breadth of the kinds of projects that we're able to execute here span the range from literally building and launching our own rockets from the university to building a lunar lander simulator that utilized a JetCat engine, an RC turbine engine that took out gravity, to building the first 2 satellites that in USC's history that occurred here at the CERC. All were done with the infusions of students as well as professional industry experts, not only from within the university, but also from outside in industry that are working in the field today.
Last semester, I took a class with a woman who worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. At the end of the semester, she actually brought the class in so that we could take a tour of JPL. And for me, that was really cool because it sort of reaffirmed that this is what I want to do, this is where I want to work.
We did a tour at Virgin Galactic, and we were able to talk to the engineers and really ask them specific questions about stuff we'd learned in the course. So it was really nice to see that what we had learned in our lecture was actually directly applicable to what they're doing in industry today.
You come in and you spend hours and hours working on a design. Then you spend hours building one piece, it's not up to par, you have to scrap it and try again until you build this perfect vehicle. You know, you only get to see it for like 5 seconds until it's past the clouds, but it's just an amazing feeling to just see all of your hard work go up and just really hope that it turns out great. And when it does, it's just an amazing feeling.
The Liquid Propulsion Laboratory is currently collaborating with a Japanese university called the Kyushu Institute of Technology to build a suborbital flight vehicle which we are providing the propulsion system for. So that's really showing how we're really expanding our capabilities and there's really something for any discipline here.
We have professional engineers from industry as well as faculty that take on real projects that have schedules and costs and project deliverables that have to be done, where students come in and are supported essentially as residents that are putting their hands on hardware to actually build the next generation spacecraft.
On campus we have this ground station antenna that's able to, it's a 4.5 meter dish that's able to track signals from satellites. So the first project I was working on was operating that system to be able to track different satellites that are passing overhead over Los Angeles.
Southern California is the heart of the aerospace industry, and that's something that we treasure a lot, and we thought that gives us a competitive advantage, as well as offering a talent that can be absorbed by the local industry.
We offer a business model, if you will, for both a unique attribute for students to train before they go to industry, where there really is no liability to industry, but they get the hands-on skill sets that truly is needed to replenish the U.S. engineering workforce in space.
It's a remarkable student group, very interdisciplinary, and we look forward to getting bigger and stronger in this very important part of future endeavor, both in engineering as well as for the world at large.
Next we head back to the studio to speak to Christophe Bernal to talk about the Interactive Awards. I'm with Christophe Bernal from CNES. Now, can you tell me, Christophe, about the Interactive Awards ceremony?
It is the key event
each year for the International Astronautical Congress. It happens on Thursday, and so let's say it's some kind of a selection of the best, very best, out of maybe 500 more. This year we had 500 plus participants to this. And so the idea is interactive presentations on a large screen where you can display what you want and click, and you know, it's real modern age. And so out of this, so we try to select which one are the best of the best. So the first step was going down from 500 to some kind of 40 roughly. That was the first step, very long, painstaking. We needed to read everything, and now then from this we go down to the 5 best, one per category of IF.
So why is the awards ceremony significant for the Congress?
It is the key event in the Congress. In good old days, let's say 10 years ago, we had paper posters, which were very static. Paper, you read it, there's nothing more. And now IAF is really moving in the next generation and so on with something very close to a smartphone. You know, you're very intuitive. You click on it, you say, so you answer the question. You can take directly contact with the author if you want. So please, we meet at this place and so on. If you want to know more, then you just click on the link going to the paper. And so it's the new way of doing it.
And can you reveal anything about any of the submissions? Anything that's really caught your eye that is amazing and you've never seen before?
It's very strange. It all depends. Everyone has its own idea. It's really fostering imagination, innovation. Some of them have some games, you know, where you start looking at the stuff and you click on one and then you start a game. And please put the astronaut in the capsule. Okay, so you try to do so, and then once you have done this, it opens a new window. It was funny. I guess that the participants must have had quite some fun.
And do you have any tips for people thinking about submitting next year? What can they do to catch your eye?
It has to be scientifically sound, technically rich in order to be. Then secondly, it has to be new, something bringing new ideas. Third, it has to be nice. So it has to be visually very good and with all the interactions. So, and the fourth thing is, it has to be enchanting. Okay, so we react, we have notes. And so with all this, so we give notes and we select, and so I would say the best of the best is a nice poster, really on a good new topic, very scientifically sound and rich and well presented, and that will be the winner.
Great. Okay, so people have got a year to get them ready
for
next year's conference.
They get used to it. Believe me, in these last year we have seen the interest of these interactive presentations growing up exponentially.
Fantastic. Yeah. Congratulations on putting it together.
Okay, thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you. That's it for us here at the 68th International Astronautical Congress. We hope you've enjoyed our program, but in the meantime, remember you can watch the show all over the Convention Centre, in your hotel room and on YouTube. And don't forget to keep up with all the latest developments and get in touch via the web. We'll see you next time in Bremen.